Today we're talking about diagnosis. Those 3 words, you have cancer. Which I guess, does anyone ever say it that clearly and that succinctly? I don't know, but that's what you hear.
That's what you remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a different journey for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to share our own journeys to go, just feel and heal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to feel to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Just to relive the stories a little bit, to bring them up and set them free. And hopefully by watching, by listening, some of you guys can do that too. And that said, don't mind me if I start like self-comforting over here, holding my heart and stuff, because that's going to come out today.
It's a life-changing moment in many ways.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Changes the course of life, for us at least.
Yeah. And in both our cases, and I'm going to start with mine, we were lucky enough to have each other in that moment.
Yeah.
Which made it not only easier from an emotional perspective, but also just from a, logistical, not feeling alone, and those kind of elements.
Yeah.
And so
being able to ask some questions together,
or at least, if maybe you didn't ask that many questions, in my case, at least we could then later talk about, did you hear the same thing I heard?
Yeah.
Right, which is also something you should always consider moving forward. But especially in that moment, because at least in my case, and I was the one who had cancer first between the two of us, it definitely, everything collapsed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you got the news, to me, it felt like the earth shattered.
Yeah. Same.
Like the world as I knew it, my trust and my trajectory and it just went.
Yeah. And I had about a 2-week buildup because I had symptoms. I went in with symptoms, was referred to a urologist. And then I only needed an ultrasound, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Like I didn't need a CT. It wasn't like a complicated process. So it took about 2 weeks. And when I got the ultrasound results, I actually kind of peeked into it. So even before seeing the doctor, I called her and I was like, hey, I have cancer. I have a tumor. Like, you need to come. And I already cried before seeing the doctor. So there was also like, I let quite a bit of it out. So I don't think, thinking back into that moment, talking to the urologist, I didn't collapse in front of him. I had already collapsed. Like, there was already anxiety was already there. It didn't kind of build.
Mm-hmm.
You were there to comfort me, and yeah, it was tough. It was definitely that moment where you realize, okay, life's gonna change. One way or the other, life's gonna change forever.
Yeah.
Like it felt like that.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, at least my case, I think it was close friends around us. There was no reference point to it. So maybe it wasn't a crazy surprise thinking back on the symptoms that I had and the way that the doctors talked to me. I think I could have picked up a bit more that there was a good chance. I don't know. Nobody gave me a percentage or anything, but yeah, but we didn't. We didn't
want to know.
Yeah, we didn't want to know until we knew. And so in hindsight, I don't think I would have done anything different. That's not what it's about. But it's about going back into that moment and kind of facing that moment is not a bad idea, because that's the moment where all of it started. And we probably have spent hundreds of hours dealing with the cancer, thinking about the cancer, talking about the cancer. But that's kind of that was the birthing moment.
Yeah.
Where this journey really started. And
where life before cancer ended and life after cancer started.
Agreed.
Yeah. And for me, it was different. Personally, I preferred the way that it happened to me, but this is also like a personal thing, right? Because I had no symptoms. I went in for a routine checkup. I mean, not saying, well, I preferred the way that I got this cancer diagnosis. Like, but if if I had to get diagnosed with cancer, I would prefer that it would be this way because
no buildup.
Went in for a routine checkup, and they said, go talk to a specialist after you're done. So I had a course of like 3 hours before when I went from
ultrasound
seemingly healthy to you have cancer. And that for like, I mean, it was just right. But that works better. I don't know. I don't know the other way, but for me, I would prefer it that way.
Well, that's the way you got.
That's what I got. That's what I got. And then I could just deal with the aftermath of the explosion.
Yeah, that's what it felt like for you.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that was good for us in that moment is, first of all, we had a moment like this before. So it was not.
It made a huge difference.
Yeah, maybe you would have not wanted the explosion if it would have been the first of its kind, right?
Yeah.
But I think the other thing that helped a lot was, again, that we were there together. You know, so that's one of those things where in hindsight, we were fortunate that we were both available and around and could just be there and share that moment, because it is such a life-changing moment.
Yeah. We're really blessed to be able to be there for each other during that.
And then in both cases, and that's another reflection we chatted about before, our doctors were specialists and they have experience, and they both did a reasonable good job. Better in your case, I think.
Yes.
To kind of set the direction and
deliver the
news and also give you hope pretty right away. Kind of like this, in your case, it was like, this looks early.
Yeah.
Like everything that I see, I don't know, I can't promise you, but based on my experience, it looks early. So there was already hope. In my case, it was a bit more, I'm pretty sure with chemo, we can kill it no matter what. You know, it wasn't like I think it's early, I think it's late. It was really more of a conservative, you need to get the CT scans and, you know, and it was more like I don't know. It didn't feel as hopeful.
Yeah.
And
that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what's the right way to go about this, right? But I think it just felt better to both of us when we left your conversation than when we left mine. And again, maybe it was because yours, we already had a bit more experience too. But I think...
No, he was just much more gentle than your specialist was.
Yeah. But I think it's a good reflection either way, just to kind of think about, what did that moment do to you? And is it maybe a good moment to go back to and just not relive it, but kind of re-feel it a bit and potentially let go of any trauma, shame, guilt, I don't know, uncertainty or anything that came with it. Because usually, I don't know about you guys, but in our cases, like once you leave that room, it's all pretty structured, right? It's all pretty much like, here's what you need to do next. Here's what you got to do next. Here's who you need to call. Here's who you need to see. These are the next steps.
Right.
So that it's good to have this moment and come clean with it.
Yeah. And now it's definitely time for me, at least, I don't know about you, to sit with some of the discomfort and sort of digging up of the trauma that came out from talking about this, and just do some breathing, do some feeling, do some processing.
Yeah. All right.